And let's move on into the Miami Dolphins now. Sean, I almost called you Mark. First time I've done that tonight. And we're going to move on into the Miami Dolphins. I think this one's easy. This is a team looking at what they did, making the playoffs. First year with their new head coach last year coming over via the Chicago Bears. And we've got Ryan Tannehill last year, 67% completion. That is like, to me, astronomical. Like, I usually say, sit around 60 and I'm happy. You're almost close to 70%. I will take that. Almost threw for 3,000 yards last year, 19 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. But that's the only blemish on that sheet. You had a 1,000-yard rusher in Jay Ajayi. He had 8 touchdowns as well. And then Jarvis Landry, over 1,000 yards as well. And Devonta Parker had 744. This question is going to be simple to start this one off. Can this team replicate what they did last year and still be a playoff team in 2017?
Replicate what they did, win 10 games and get in the playoffs? I think they can definitely do that. I think honestly, if they don't replicate it, that's going to be a disappointment because they should be able to, because you look at Ryan Tannehill, he's still young. This is his best year that he's ever had. That's under Adam Gase, and he did get injured as well. Could have been even a better year if he was able to, play Pittsburgh, and maybe they beat Pittsburgh in the playoff game. You also look at Jay. Jay was fantastic. Breakout season for him. He should only get better from there. You look at Jarvis Landry. He was fantastic. He's still young. Bringing in help. Maybe Devontae Parker could finally take a step up because they drafted him. Kenny Stills hasn't been anything special, but he hasn't been super healthy as well. So, and also I think the biggest thing too is they bring in Julius Thomas. So I mean they added to this team. This team got better. I think that Miami not only should be able to win 10 games, maybe they'll be able to win a playoff game if Ryan Tannehill's healthy. I think that this team is I think this team can really make some noise in the AFC, not let alone the AFC East. I don't think they're going to win the AFC East because the Patriots are still there, but I think they could be the second best team in the AFC because you look at all of the potential they had. They weren't able to put together that potential until week 6 against Pittsburgh, and then they went on that run, that fantastic run where they lost 2 games. Yeah, and obviously they got blown out by the New England in the last week, but still looking at this, I think this team could be really something special, and as long as they're on the same page, they get off to a hot start. They're not, slagging behind, going to overtime against Cleveland, stuff like that. This team can be a playoff team again and possibly make some noise in the playoffs. I also like what they did in the offseason defensively because you bring in the biggest free agent signing for them, I think. Well, I'll leave you guys to tell me which is bigger, but they're both pretty big. First, you got Nate Allen coming over, the safety, coming over from Oakland. He's going to start for this team, probably play free safety. Then you also bring in Lawrence Timmons, who's probably going to be coming over from Pittsburgh. He's going to be your middle linebacker now. And I look at this linebacking crew. Kiko Alonso, I kind of have a question there because can you stay healthy? Can you be? We've known you to get injured in your career, whether it's with Philly, whether it was with Buffalo. Usually injuries have followed Kiko Alonso wherever he goes. But if he could stay healthy, you have Kiko Alonso on one side. You have Raekwon McMillan, the guy you drafted from Ohio State, on the other, and Lawrence Timmons in the middle. As long as he could stay healthy, too. He's an old man. You have just strengthened. Yeah, he's in his 10th. I believe this will be his 11th season in the NFL. You just strengthened your linebacking core. Now, I know that the big loss for them is Jelani Jenkins is no longer there. They kind of just traded Jenkins for Allen because Allen came from Oakland. He signed with them. Jelani Jenkins is now in Oakland being with them, so he kind of traded that. And then you get Anthony Fasano just to fill that hole of, we lost Deion Sims at the tight end, and we needed someone to come in. I think the guy to fill him is Julius Thomas. That's the guy who's going to really fill it. But that's the starting. The guy who's actually replacing Deion Sims. On the roster, we lost the tight end. We needed to bring someone in. Yeah, so they brought in Julius Thomas. And they also Fasano's a backup. They also traded for Julius Thomas. The hell are you talking about? Hey, I want to give Anthony Fasano what? He's a bum. He's not a bum. He's from Notre Dame. He's a bum. All he does is block. All he does is block. But you did bring up the other point. They do bring in Julius Thomas to be on this team. That's the big move, not Anthony fucking Fasano. Jesus. No, looking at this team, though, I think that, you're bringing veteran leadership with Lawrence Timmons, a guy that's been in the playoffs before, help bolster that team. As long as he can stay healthy and at least be able to bring something to this team, I think that was a great signing for them. You also look at that front line. That front You look at just Wake and Sue alone. I mean, those guys are just dangerous by themselves. You don't really need anyone else playing around them. It's helpful if there is, but still, I mean, you look at those two, those guys are going to cause havoc, and then you look behind them, obviously, like you mentioned, I think there's a decent linebacking crew. I have a little bit of questions, though, about when it comes to the secondary, because yes, you brought in Nate Allen, so he just had one of his best years, had most interceptions, but that was a team in Oakland that forced a lot of turnovers. Rashad Jones isn't bad. I mean, I think he was banged up for a little bit, but Rashad Jones is a good safety, and I think that's probably your strongest suit there. And Byron Maxwell wasn't terrible after coming over from the Eagles, had a bit of resurgence, but was that a flash in the pan, or will he be able to keep that up? And then also Xavier Howard, I don't know how well he's going to do. So, and this is going to be a second year now, so maybe he will be able to take a step up, grow, and learn. But I think the weakest part about this defense is that secondary. But ultimately, I think this team can be very successful because we saw the success they had last year. They have a very balanced offense, and they have a good offense at that, a very good and balanced offense. And you look at that defense, this is a team that really doesn't have huge weaknesses. I don't know how well those corners are going to hold up, but outside of that, you still will be able to put a ton of pressure on the quarterbacks with Sue and Wake. And you look at Nate Allen, he's going to be a guy that can be able to ball hawk. So I think that ultimately, I think this team is very balanced. They're very set in stone. It's really just, can Ryan Tannehill stay healthy, and can Ryan Tannehill be consistent? Because he did find that consistency late in the season, or at least after week 5. But will it take him to week 5 again to find that consistency, or was that just really a feeling out process between him and Gase?
Well, and that's the big guy is Adam Gase comes over from the Bears, and I'll be honest, when it came down to the decision then where it was like, well, do we fire John Fox and give Gase the job, or do we let him walk? I was even then saying you're idiots for not firing John Fox and keeping the guy who it's funny because the Bears, I know this isn't the Bears segment, but it relates to Gase where you brought in Trestman in your future to be the quarterback whisperer. This guy's the quarterback whisperer. But really the quarterback whisperer has been Adam Gase. What he's done in Denver, what he's been able to work with even making Jay Cutler a little bit better than he was pre-Adam Gase. And now with Tannehill, in his first year with Tannehill, makes him almost a 3,000-yard passer and almost a 70% completion thrower in just 1 year with him. So I think that Miami fans should be excited for this season because you're going to get now another year with Tannehill working with Gase. To me, the biggest question on the offense is Jay Ajayi. Is he going to be the one to replicate his performance? Because, I mean, Jarvis Landry, yeah, he'll be able to, like...
He's a speedy guy. That speed's not going away.
The yards for all the receivers, I don't worry about because of the guy who they have throwing it. If Tannehill keeps up what he did last year, the receivers will get their yards. However, will Jay Ajayi still be able to be the guy he was last year and be not just an 1,000-yard rusher, but a 1,200-yard rusher?
I don't worry too much about Jay himself. I worry too much about this offensive line because, again, he didn't really turn around until that offensive line was healthy. True. So as long as that offensive line can stay healthy, asking a Pouncey to stay healthy is just kind of absurd because, both Mike and Marquise are always hurt. And then you look at Jermon Bushrod. He's been a guy that's been back and forth. He had a really nice season with the Saints, and then once the Bears signed him, he was trash. Juwan James is good. Laramie Tunsil. We expect this guy to be a fantastic addition to this team, even better than one of the best linemen out of that year's class. I think that as long as those guys can stay healthy, then Jay Ajayi will be able to duplicate that performance. I'm not really too worried about Jay himself because as long as those holes are opening up because that offensive line's healthy, I think Jay can really succeed. And he wasn't a guy that was super consistent. He had a huge bunch of games. He had 200-yard rushing games. He had some insane games.
Some good fantasy performances.
And yeah, he was on my team. I remember pretty well. But ultimately, I think that Jay can be a guy that really succeeds as long as that offensive line succeeds. And I think as long as those guys are healthy, and as long as this whole team's healthy, this can be a playoff team that can make noise.
Well, and one thing we've done for each and every team that I look at now is the schedule. And each one of these teams are going to have the same thing. They're all playing the AFC West, so you're playing at Arrowhead, you're playing Denver at home, you've got Oakland at home, and then you have the Chargers on the road. But some of the differences between schedules that I see is, you've got to play your own division. You got to play the AFC West, and I think it's the NFC South is their NFC division. But like where the Bills had the Bengals on the road, you get the Ravens on the road, and it's a Thursday night game. Whereas the Bills got the Colts on the road, you get the Titans at home. And it's some of those changes to where I feel like on top of the tough games from the NFC South and the AFC West.
They're also not playing Indy.
Of course, their division. Yeah, they get the Titans instead. Will those changes, those slight changes of Tennessee, who I'm a little bit higher on than Indianapolis, it's mainly because of the defense and Andrew Luck's health, but also I'm a lot higher this year on the Ravens than I would be on the Browns and the Bengals, who we've seen in the past two schedules with the Jets and the Buffalo Bills.
But also, this is a team that's better than the Bills. So I'm not too worried when it comes to playing Baltimore. Yes, it's at Baltimore, but I'm not too worried because Joe Flacco, a guy under pressure, I mean, Joe Flacco's a bum. Especially when you put him under pressure, it's not like he's going to be that great. And Joe Flacco's a guy that likes to go deep. He's a great deep ball thrower, but then again, when you're getting pressured and you're going deep, then you might be able to force turnovers. You might be able to pick some passes off, which I think plays very well into the secondary suit. So I think that Baltimore game isn't too much of a worry. Tennessee, that's early in the season. Mariota might still be figuring out stuff about his leg, and then also under pressure, how well will he be able to move after the leg injury he suffered? So I think, honestly, this schedule plays off very nice for him. I mean, Tampa is not going to be a fun start, but Tampa's also a winnable game, especially at home.
There's only one stretch that could be a death stretch.
And it's probably the end of the season.
Yeah, it's week 12 to the end.
Yeah, and I mean, even then you get a couple breaks. I mean, I think that you have to play New England in week 12 and 14, which is going to be tough. But then again, you have Buffalo twice. And Buffalo, I think you can win both games.
And that's the thing. Is Buffalo going to be able to compete with Miami? And if they're playing, like we mentioned with the Bills one, if they're playing more together, I think those could be tough. Like, just like we said for the Bills, yeah, the Miami games are going to be tough. Those Bills games should be tough for Miami as well. And
that's if they're healthy.
Well, and the thing I also feel like is you play New England on Monday night, and you got to play at New England. Then you have to come back to Miami for a full week, and then you have to go, or you're in Miami, then you fly all the way out to Buffalo, and you're already on a shortened week because you played on Monday, and you immediately got to go to Tuesday. But then after the second time you play Buffalo, yeah, you get them at home, but the game before, you're playing in Arrowhead, which is
on Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve, which is a completely different atmosphere, and it's a different kind of game to play in because of the decibel level that stadium can get to where if you lose that game, I know that coaches have often said to both of us that, hey, you know what, sometimes the momentum doesn't carry over from game to game, but I look at that one where that could be one where a loss in that environment and KC might be able to carry over and Buffalo might be able to jump on you.
But the one thing I don't worry about with this Miami team is that if they lose a game, I don't think they're going to get too down on themselves because they've been in that situation before. And I think it's just one thing that this Miami team, I feel like they're playing as a team. I think that Gase has set up a very nice culture there. I think that ultimately, like, if they are able to lose a game, they will be able to brush it off. And I don't think it will hurt them too much. I think I see this team as a 9 to 11 win team. I think that, they're going to struggle against New England. I think they might be able to beat New England in some scenarios, but I don't think, I think that, they might win one, but I don't think they're going to win both. Ultimately, I think that they're going to win 11 games this season. I don't think it's going to be something that is going to knock them out of the playoffs. I think that this team can definitely sneak in as a wild card team. I think this team could be really something special. And like I said, I think that they can, if they are the wild card team, I think they could take down an AFC South, an AFC North team because those teams are pretty weak. I mean, I know Pittsburgh has Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, et cetera. But you saw this, that Pittsburgh team, and I mean, I wasn't too high on that Pittsburgh team in general. So I think that ultimately, I think that Miami can make noise. And I think that the only way that they wouldn't be able to do that would be if they run into a New England. So I think ultimately this is a 10 to 11 win team.
Well, and a good thing, and I know last year it was because, hey, you know what, they ran into that stretch where they just went on a roll after week 6. But in the first 5 weeks, they never lost more than 2 games. They lost week 1, week 2, 1 week 3. Yeah, I know it was the Browns, but then they lost week 4, week 5, and that was the most games they ever lost in a row, unless you want to count week 17 into
but then they also didn't have Ryan Tannehill,
They didn't have Tannehill for that either. But anything you think we missed on the Miami Dolphins before we move into the Super Bowl champions whose jersey you've been wearing the entire time?
Yeah, none of these teams are winning the AFC East, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, and here the trash talk comes, but this is where I'm going to turn the conversation.
It's not trash talk when we've won since 2009.
Is it not?
It's a division that we've won since 2009. The last time a team hasn't won it was the Miami Dolphins 2008. So that was 9 years ago.
So Sean's pulling the "it's not true if" or "it's not trash talk if I'm backing it up" kind of a thing.
No, it's not trash talk.
It's just the truth.
No, it's just like it's like, you know, someone having a money discussion with Warren Buffett and they have like $3. It's like, yeah, guess who has more money? It's Warren Buffett, and why are you even arguing? There's no argument.
Okay. This is where you guys come in, though. I'm going to turn on to you.
It's
Let
pathetic.
us know
That's what it would be.
What you guys think down below about the Miami Dolphins. And I'll even throw it out there because I didn't let him answer it. Is there a chance Miami wins the division this year? Let us know down below in the comment section.